Aloha mai kako, my name is Alana Kanahele and I will be doing my case study on the wildfire of Pahala that happened in June 2012. So first of all, I'll be talking about the two wildfires that resulted within the Pahala area, um, how it got worse, who did the fire affect, any future events that happened after the fire, and any linkages to other natural disasters as well as the benefits to wildfires. So this is a location. So this is where Pahala is located on the Big Island, as you can see from right here. To start off as the background of Pahala, it was a former sugar town in the 1990s. It's located in the district of Ka'u, Hawaii. Pahala is the largest town in the Ka'u area. So as you can see from this picture, this is the town of Pahala. Um, Also, as a continuation, the main industries are the macadamia nut orchards, the coffee farming, horticulture farming, as well as ranching. The population in Pahala is 1,356, and Mauna Loa, as well as the Volcano National Park, is found within this area. And because they're closer to the volcanoes, they do have, um, they can get fog coming from those areas. So, first off, I'll be talking about the wildfire that happened towards the Makai side. So you can see over here because it is a greater amount that it burned, and as well as the second part that happened in the Mocha area. So the first wildfire of Pahala, it happened on the Makai side, as I said before. It consisted of the macadamia nut orchards and pasture lands that had been burned. For 3 straight days, the firefighters continued to battle with the wildfire. It stayed within the Pa'al Gulch of the macadamia nut orchards. And what a gulch is, it's a small narrow valley with steep sides. So this is a picture of the wildfire. As you can see, there is nothing that is there. There's no vegetation. It's just burned down. Here is a closer picture. As you can see, there's just nothing greenery, no vegetation, as I said before. So this is the amount that fire took out, and this is within the macadamia nut orchard. The wildfire was so great that it was heading towards Hilo side, but they ended up stopping it and containing it. It ended up increasing more than 2,900 acres within 24 hours. So it just shows how great that wildfires can, just build up and increase. And the more fuel it has, like air, any brushes, anything that it can burn, it's just going to fuel and it's just going to get more immense and it's going to keep spreading. So to containing the fire, they ended up bringing in bulldozers to help make fire breakers. And what fire breakers are is that they would strip or clear the land to stop the spread of the wildfire. And to go back to my last picture, as you can see from these sides right here, this is the fire breaker. Excuse me, the fire breaks that they made on the sides. So you can see that way it would help spread the fire, and it goes all around. They ended up bringing helicopters that came to doing water drops. They had 4 tanker trucks that could carry 12,500 gallons of water. And they also were lucky because there was rain, which really helped a lot since it slowed down the wildfire. For the second wildfire in Pahala, it happened towards the Mauka side of Pahala, and it's in the area along the Ali Spring Road and the Higashi Camp Road. It burned almost around like 400 acres. It was quite small, not as big as the Makai or the first wildfire that happened, but it was, it still caused damage. Even though it was quite small, they were able to contain it pretty quickly. So it resulted in having like more than 5,000 acres that was burned. plus the 400 acres of the second wildfire in the Mocha area. That's a lot of acres, and it just shows that it goes quickly. It keeps burning. Whatever it helps to fuel the fire. It can just keep spreading, and then the more it spreads, the more land or the more of the grass is going to burn anything that's in their way. So as you can see, this is the smoke from the Mackay side. So this is the first wildfire, and it's just heavy. As you can see in the second picture, they're trying to put it out by the trees, and it's just a lot of smoke. So this is near the area of the Pahala Gulch over here, and as you can see, all this smoke right here is what affects the people, because in their house, they had to close the window. There wasn't any evacuation that occurred, but people ended up leaving some of the houses due to the amount of smoke that they felt like they were suffocating in. And now people have to clean their house because of all the ashes, even in the hospital. So the hospital had to clean up all the ashes that was inside the hospital. So it was just a lot of smoke. And then this is just a quote. There were fires that were burning to the south and also to the north of us. While the hospital itself wasn't in danger, the smoke was really horrendous in the facility. So it just goes to show that, even if there was no fire, even if there was no fire, the smoke itself can be so horrendous, and it can also affect the people. To continue with my results, it resulted in a lot of property damage. So the macadamia nut company lost around 4,000 acres. The Kamehameha School's land was also affected. They lost around 230 acres, but they could recover some trees. Now, what causes it to get worse? So with fire, as you guys know, that it needs air, so oxygen, fuel, like bushes, and heat, so the temperature. This is what caused the fire to get worse. So dry conditions are considered as the fuel. It's one of the three conditions that helps fuel the wildfire. The fire tends to consume the dry areas as a way for it to keep building up and spreading. So trees, grasses, bushes, even homes, all considered as flammable materials that helps fuel the fire to build it up. Strong winds, considered as air or oxygen, is actually the number one problem, because that is what helps spread the fire. It's a dominant influence of wildfires. It rapidly helps spread the fire, and on that day the winds were really great. It was 10 to 15 miles per hour, and to show how great that winds are, as you can see in this picture, this is an ironwood. Ironwood weighs really heavy. And during that same day actually, that tree came crashing down and smashing, look at this truck, smashing this truck. Luckily, there was nobody inside, so nobody got hurt. But you can see the wind had a really strong effect on blowing this tree down and knocking it down. So it really crushed that truck right there. So it's really, it impacts on the plants, it impacts on moving things. It also can carry burning embers to create spot fires, and this is what actually caused the fire to jump the highway. So as it was burning the Pahala Gulch, the wind was so strong that it ended up carrying embers from the wildfire, and and carrying it over the highway, and actually started burning on the other side of the highway. And it actually started burning on the lawn of the Ka'u hospital. Okay, so who did it affect? So it mostly affected farmers, such as coffee farmers of Ka'u. And they really relied on their crops. And for one of these ones, it's this Ka'u Coffee Growers Co-op. They lost 2/3 of the 6 acres that got burned. And as far as the second one, the second coffee farmer, which is Rusty's Hawaiian Coffee, that is near the pear tree orchards in Ka'u, there's no irrigation because it got burned, and they have to wait another 3 years for the coffee to grow back. And this is a quote: "Where fire turned our coffee trees into a skeleton." As you can see in the back, um, the trees are just burned. Okay, you can see in the top, this is the Ka'u coffee growers. The trees, the leaves are burnt. So this is also another picture. This is Rusty Hawaiian's coffee irrigation. As you can see, this irrigation, they won't be able to use it, and it's gonna cost a lot of money to try and replace it. But it's burned where the wildfires really impacted their irrigation of moving the water, of watering their main coffee. And as you can see in the bottom, the coffee growers, as I said before, the leaves are just burned. I mean, the branches, and as I said before, it turned their coffee trees into skeleton, which is by the Laurie Oprah and William Tabios. So who also did it? It also affected ranchers, and they would have their cattle that used to hang around the eucalyptus trees in Pahala. So all of these trees are the eucalyptus, and there were cattle. And once the fence disappeared because of the wildfire, the cattle also disappeared. So ranchers don't have their cattle, they don't know where it went, and now it's all gone. And also the area where the cattle used to hang around. So the future events that happened after the wildfire were dust storms, and because there's no vegetation on top of the lands that burned, it's just acres of bare dirt, and you combine it with dry, windy conditions, it caused to have dust storms. And this happened ever since the wildfire started in Pahala, and it also lasted a couple of days. So any linkages to other hazards? So wildfire burns vegetation, as I said before. It can release smoke into the atmosphere, releasing more carbon into the air. It also, with releasing carbon into the air, it also contributes to global warming as you get the warmer temperature. And then with wildfire, you also get vegetation loss. And if you have heavy rain, it also can cause the erosion because you have no vegetation cover. There is loose soil, and due to that, you can also get, you can end up having erosion. So benefits to wildfire. So some of these benefits, they can return nutrients to the soil by burning dead or decaying matter. They remove disease plants and harmful insects from the forest. It lets sunlight to reach the forest floor. And you can also let new seedlings to grow. As you can see in this picture, everything's burned, but then because you're letting sunlight hit, new seedlings are able to grow. And that was my presentation of the wildfire in Pahala. I hope you guys enjoyed it and learned a couple of things. Yeah, so you guys have a nice day. Thank you.